Okay, and I'll be watching from another screen. So if I see that anybody has a question, if you're able to type it into the chat, that would be great. If not, just keep your hand raised and I'll see you eventually. All right, share screen. This one. All right. And you probably want to see just that. Or I can get rid of all of these actually. Okay, you're good.
So should I?
Yep.
There.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, got it. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, everybody. I had to approve this. Oh, she had to approve it. There's that.
Okay. So again, my name is Brian Harvey. I'm the owner of Harvey Home Modifications. We're a local building and remodeling business focuses on accessibility. A little bit about me. I am a University of Maine graduate, which I know is important to Bill Leach here. Bill and his late wife, I know are important in that community. So thanks, Bill. I have a business degree, a dual business degree in marketing and management. And I come by the construction business honestly. My father was a union pipe fitter in Boston, and my mother has been a caregiver her whole life in the senior space. And somewhere along the lines, about 25 years ago, my father started providing handyman services for the various clients that my mother had, and it became a full-time job for him. They needed someone who was trusted, who could help people stay at home by making minor adjustments. I joined my father about 8 years ago, purchased the business 4 or 5 years ago, and we've grown from a handyman business for seniors into full-scale builder. We build homes now, we do remodeling. So along the lines there, I obtained my unrestricted construction supervisor license, which means I can build any commercial or residential facility in the state of Massachusetts. So I'm a certified aging in place specialist by the National Association of Home Builders, something that there aren't very many of in this space. And actually many of the people who have that dedication are architects, structural engineers, and people in the physical therapy, rehabilitation world. So I'm very proud of that. Like I said, it is a family business. My father started that business about 20 years ago as almost a part-time gig to help, but the demand, as you all know, is significant, especially here in Newton. It's a great community. A lot of people opt to stay home for their entire lives, but the houses here are really challenging. So we've got our hands full, and every day is a new interesting project. And most importantly, I am a father of 2. I have a 2-month-old son named James, and my wife and I are doing very well with the baby. You see a picture here from a few years ago. That's my daughter, Evelyn. She's now actually 3 years old, and she gives us a real run for our money. So this presentation is going to be what to look for in your home, common projects. And I'm going to get into details about pricing as well. I find that very helpful. We'll see here. Yes. Okay. So aging in place remodeling is the term we use. A lot of people find that kind of strange in the building community. I come across a lot of people at Home Depot who see the truck. The truck says aging in place remodeling. They have no idea what it means. It's a real foreign concept to a lot of people, but it's exactly what it sounds like. Aging in place, 90% of people, I believe AARP mentioned 90% of people opt and wish to remain home for their lives. So aging in place remodeling is just the task of keeping people home. And that's what we do. The important concepts within the building industry are called universal design. And universal design means that we can remodel to not only make things look nice, but to serve people of all physical and cognitive abilities. So it's universally designed and capable. So there are principles of universal design. The first is equitable use. Like I said, equitable use across all abilities. Simple and intuitive. Perceptible information. As soon as you see a fixture or a room, you should understand the purpose of everything in the room and how to use it. It's very important. Tolerance for error. Tolerance for error could mean an error could be a high slip hazard area. An area where things can be dropped and fall behind something like a vanity. We try to eliminate these things the best that we can in our design. Low physical effort. Obviously, as we age, things become more difficult. And as part of all of our designs, we consider someone's specific needs based on a condition or a preference. And we try to incorporate that low physical effort as well. Space for approach and use. And this is specifically important for those of us who expect to be in wheelchairs or who are preparing for that eventually. With universal design, one of the things I always try to push on homeowners is to, whether it's temporary, like a knee surgery or a hip surgery, or if it's permanent, part of our universal design should to be make the entire space wheelchair accessible, because the vast majority of us, if we're lucky enough to age late into our life in our homes, will need to use a wheelchair at some point. The key areas within the home to address. Actually, I should probably pause to see if we have any questions.
Joe, it doesn't look like it, not yet.
Okay.
I think I see a lot of people taking a lot of notes.
Okay, I'll try to slow down too. I had a lot of coffee this morning, so any questions in the room? Okay. Within the home, the key areas to address. First and foremost, and this is usually the most forgotten, are entrances and exits. I've done work for people who have remodeled almost their entire first floor of their home to prepare for someone to come home. And they used another builder who's not familiar with the process of coming home from a long-term rehabilitation stay or something. And they have a 28-inch wide front door, and the husband or wife or child, whoever needs to make it in the home, can't even make it into the home. There's no wheelchair ramp, the door's not wide enough. So first and foremost, that's something that needs to be addressed. Next are bathrooms. Obviously, bathing is a large challenge for someone who is either physically handicapped or who has an ailment, but it's just also probably our most common requests are bathrooms, because it's an area of tremendous anxiety for people, especially if you're living alone. Bathrooms are where a good majority of accidents happen, and there's a lot of stuff we can do to make them more safe. Bedrooms account for actually not the most catastrophic, but the most common area for falls and injuries, believe it or not. When you're changing in your room, if it's the last room anyone expects that they need to modify, but getting in and out of your bed as it's been for the entire time you've lived home, or accessing your clothes in your closet and dresser, are things we all need to consider to age in place. And it's actually an area where a lot of falls end up happening. Living rooms, same thing. A lot of us love the Red Sox and can sit there and watch them for 4 hours. But if you can't get in and out of the chair as easily, or if there's a lot of things you can trip on in the room, especially later in the day as it becomes darker and there's less natural light, that can be a cause for concern as well. Kitchens. yeah, I get a lot of people who think their days of cooking these big extravagant meals and having the grandkids over are behind them, but it's not true. With universal design concepts, you can manipulate your kitchen to be very accessible, much simpler to use, and depending on your specific condition or concern or area of weakness, we can make modifications to your kitchen that make it much simpler to use. And then a big one too, we were talking about this offline before the presentation. In Newton especially, we have these old Victorian homes, these really tall 3-floor homes. Stairwells are an area of concern that need to be addressed, whether it's something as simple as handrails, adding handrails if there aren't any, or something more significant like a stair lift. There's solutions for almost everything. So first off, entrances and exits. I love to share this photo because it's actually a wheelchair ramp that's been incorporated into the design of the front porch. And from the street, it doesn't look like anything but a front porch. And this is a really great example of universal design. You can see it's beautiful and functional. And a lot of people don't like to say, hey, you know, I don't want people driving by the house and seeing that aluminum ramp in my yard. And I have the foresight to prepare for this, and I want to stay home. So what kind of ideas do you have for me to get in the house? And this is a really great example of a ramp that works. I mentioned the aluminum ramps. What they call those are semi-permanent ramps. It doesn't require footings into the ground, concrete footings to support a structure like a deck or an addition. Those permanent ramps, like the one I showed you before that looks like a deck, those are a bit more involved. It's something we have to run by the building departments and to get permitted use for. But something like a semi-permanent ramp can usually be installed. Some companies can do it as quickly as within 1 week. And the installation usually takes 1 to 2 days. Obviously, a lot of people prepare for not needing the ramp. So if you're coming home from having hip or knee surgery, or if it's end of life care for someone within a home, these are a great option. They can be rented. You can save yourself a lot of money. And it can also be brought to any entrance within the house fairly easily. These ramps usually cost between $5,000 and $15,000. Obviously, the longer the ramp and the more complicated the structure, the more expensive it will be. And the way that's determined is the height of the front door entrance, or whichever entrance is being used, off the ground. The rule of thumb for a comfortable wheelchair ramp is for every 1 inch of rise off the surface, the ground surface, you need about 1 foot of ramp run. So if your door is 3 feet off the ground, 36 inches, you'd want about 36 feet of ramp. Permanent ramps. This is one we did, I believe in Newton. We did it in the back of a home and we tied it into a deck. This was in the middle of winter. We went back after and we painted and stained the railings and it looked really beautiful. These are, again, a bit more complicated because your deck needs to be supported by permanent footings. But you can tie these into the aesthetics of your home, and a lot of people find that very important. Like I said, a bit more involved. There's more labor and there's more time and materials that go into these. We've done them anywhere between about $7,500 to upwards of $20,000. Vertical platform lifts. This is one we did right in Newtonville. In Massachusetts, this is a very complicated process. The unit you see here on the left side of the photo is the vertical platform lift itself. And what it is just a small elevator. If you have limited space like here at this duplex, you don't have the room for turnaround platforms, and this would probably need about 50 feet of ramp run. There just wasn't enough space, and this person planned to be home for a long time. So what we did was install this VPL, vertical platform lift. It's pretty durable. It's pretty easy to install, except in Massachusetts, they make you pull an elevator permit. So there's a lot of inspections. There's annual inspections that need to happen. And it's a bit costly because of the electrical components and the ramp. Actually, the platform itself needs to be installed by a licensed elevator mechanic.
Brian, did you have to build another door in there? Is that a second door that you built for the wheelchair itself?
So actually, we widened that door, but this is a multifamily home. So what you can see here is we have a 5x5 landing platform outside of that door. And that's from the same company that produces the ramps. It's called Easy Access. The letter is Easy Access. But no, we didn't have to.
Okay, so those are two separate entrances.
That's right.
Two separate apartment houses. Okay.
And that's a good question, Amy, too, because in Massachusetts, if you want to do an addition, you have to check your city's setback laws, how close you encroach to the property line. For any kind of necessary accessibility structures like ramps, whether it be semi-permanent, a vertical platform lift, or a permanent ramp, they're not allowed to restrict you from doing that because that's your way to get into your home. So you can go right up to the property line with structures like these. These are really particularly great. You know, a lot of times the caregivers we have are our spouses, and it can be really taxing to, especially in the wintertime, to get your husband or wife or significant other into the home. If you have to, you know, snow shovel 50 feet of a ramp, it could be taxing, or you have to pay someone to do it. These are great and durable, can be used outside in the winter. And it's a small, you know, if it's uncovered, it's a small surface that you need to remove snow from. But it's also great because you're not pushing someone up a long ramp. So these are a great option for that as well. I think I have a video on here. We installed one inside a 2-bay garage. It took up a really small amount of space and was a great option for the family. Let's see, this is me. This is what it looks like in motion. You can see the front ramp protects the passenger from falling off the platform. Nice and slowly. There are controls to the unit that prevent it from, if your cat's hiding under there or something, it has a protective sensory platform that will stop the ramp from moving. So they're really very safe and convenient. They're pretty expensive. You know, we've installed these. There are some challenges, like I said, in Massachusetts, but there's a really great company called AmRamp. Not to take business away from myself, but AmRamp is a Massachusetts-based national franchise. They produce semi-permanent aluminum ramps. They're really experts on home accessibility. And what they've done recently is created a vertical platform lift that meets all Massachusetts elevator codes, which almost no other provider meets. So if anyone is interested in those lines of products, AmRamp, short for American Ramp, is a great place to start. And I'd be happy to connect anyone who's in need of something like that. The projects are expensive. The equipment itself isn't super expensive. it's a project that could probably be done for less than $10,000 if we did not need to meet Massachusetts electrical and elevator code. But these projects usually, because of the electrical requirements and the many inspections and time it takes, usually line up somewhere between $13,000 and $16,000. Are there any questions about entrances and exits? Okay. The next area I want to talk about is bathrooms. This is kind of the exciting area too. I think most of the time when I do a home visit to assess accessibility, it's the area of concern, but if done correctly, they can be really beautiful. I see Bill Leach is here. I don't want to, invade on your privacy, Bill, but I got a picture of the bathroom we did for you, and it looks really beautiful. I know we incorporated some tile that I think you set the tile with your wife that she had selected, and so it was really important to you to keep that, and it came out really great, I think. There it is. So the important things to incorporate into a safe bathroom and a universally designed bathroom is low or no curbs. You can't see in this photo, but what you have to do outside of a shower area in Massachusetts, when there's no curb, is to waterproof 36 inches into the room, which most of the time people elect to completely replace the tile on the floor. And sometimes you have to, because to remove old tile, a lot of the times it will break as you're taking it up, and to find something that matches is usually impossible. So most of the time when you do a no or low threshold shower, you're actually having to remodel most of the entire room. In this case, we were actually able to preserve the tile and waterproof 3 feet back into Bill's room. We installed grab bars in, throughout this bathroom really, but you can see those horizontal grab bars in the room. And we try to use slip resistant materials when we can. So in a bathroom, what that usually means is an unglazed floor tile. You don't want anything too slick, especially when wet. In this shower floor, it is actually, I think, a glazed floor tile, but since it's a penny tile like this, anything smaller than 2 inches by 2 inches, there's actually a lot of grout lines, which makes it a lot grippier and a lot safer on a shower floor. So we try to recommend really small format tile of 2 inches by 2 inches or less on a floor. The other neat thing that we did here is you can see there's a handheld shower on the right-hand side of the picture, but we put the mixing valve close to the entrance. We do this because either if a caregiver needs to assist, then it's really easy for them to adjust while the person they're bathing is within the shower area. But it's also nice because Bill can go in here, get his shower to temperature without having to get wet in the cold water, and he can adjust it as he likes. So that's a really neat feature that I'm glad we did. I'm glad we did for you, Bill, and we try to incorporate in a lot of our rooms. Oh, I forgot the arrows. Yeah, see that my presentation points to these important things. Okay. There's a few different types of bathrooms. The first one is called a wet bath. What that means is that the entire room can get wet. To properly allow the room to get wet, we have to do a lot of subsurface preparation with waterproofing materials. I guess over time, it's changed. There used to be products that you roll on like a paint to cement board or drywall, so that when you place the tile, the subsurface is waterproof as well. We use a couple different products. I'll get into that here. but basically anywhere you see tile within this room is completely waterproof. So if the tile and the grout fail, your basement or your first floor wouldn't be leaking. And if you have a really small room like this one, it's a great option because the entire bathroom floor is waterproof and is considered part of the shower area. These, the expected cost for these start at about $25,000. It's a stud to stud remodel of the room. So there's a lot of labor and there's a lot more materials that go into one of those jobs. Next is what we call curbless or barrier free. These are great. We, you know, in this room, which we know is Bill's, there was a bathtub before. And if you think about the shape of bathtubs, they slant in from the sides, from all, you know, 4 sides of the tub. So you lose a lot of floor space. So when you remove the tub and you prepare for a shower, it actually seems quite large because you're used to showering in maybe 18 to 24 inches of flat floor space, when in this time now you usually have between 3 and 4 feet of depth and about 60 inches plus of shower floor space. Like I said on this, because there is a curbless area to this, and it is possible for water to leave that surface, you have to waterproof 3 feet into the room with your substrate materials. These start around $20,000. And really it depends on materials selected and obstacles you're working around. I've worked with customers who have spent $10,000 on plumbing fixtures alone. But really you can get it done for usually about $20,000. The next is a much quicker and less expensive option is what we call a bath insert. So there's a lot of companies you hear, I think it's like Bath Fitter and companies that come and they put a fiberglass material over tiled surfaces and tubs. It looks nice and clean and neat. There are companies that have pans and walls that are fiberglass, but are specifically made for accessibility. You might not be able to see in these photos, but these are a very short, half-inch tall ramped entrance at the lip of the shower pan. And they have a collapsible water retaining membrane at the front so that water doesn't come out into the room. These are a lot quicker. It's still not an inexpensive project, but it can save money and it can reduce the amount of time you're without a bathroom. And those start at about $15,000. Low threshold is the last one here. What you're actually seeing is just it's kind of a funky project, but we have a walk-in shower here. And at the entrance to the shower, you can see that there's a curb. There's a lot of different ways we can construct this, but again, the waterproofing of the substrate only needs to happen within that shower area because there's a curb for water retention that separates the shower from the rest of the room. And these also start, these bathroom projects usually start at about $25,000. And these prices, by the way, are for entire remodels of the bathroom. The nature of swapping out a tub or waterproofing a room is that all fixtures like a vanity and a toilet, they need to be removed from the room. So the room actually needs to be completely remodeled to an extent. So keep that in mind. It's not just for the shower area. So preparation. I said there's a lot of different materials we can use. You can see here, and I'm sorry, I'm blocking a little part of the screen here, but this is called Weedy board, W-E-D-I. It's a German company that produces a waterproof substrate. What you see here on the walls is it's a polystyrene and cement board finish. So it's waterproof throughout. The pan is made of that same material, and you can tile directly over it. The walls are as well. And what you're seeing is a caulking made specifically by this company that waterproofs all the seams of the room. It waterproofs the seams and it waterproofs our screw holes that hold the board to the outside walls. It's a really great material. This is the picture of that wet room I showed before. I think I have, this is the preparation stage, and I think the bathroom turned out to be quite nice. All right. I have another bath example project just to show a little more what kind of preparation needs to go into the room. This is an important consideration too if you have second floor bathrooms or bathrooms above a basement. It's quite a bit of plumbing and preparation work that you have to do to replace a tub with a walk-in or low threshold shower. So this is what it looks like. We removed a bathtub in this room all the way down to the substrate and the floor joist. The drain size needs to increase for a shower versus a tub. So when we remove the tub, we also have to remove the 1.5 inch drain and increase it to 2 inch because it's a plumbing code to prevent flooding within a room. A tub and a tub overflow can handle a lot of water if there's a leak or if someone forgets to shut off the tub. They have a lot of time to make it there to shut it off. But in a shower, especially if it's a curbless shower, we don't have the same luxury. So they increase the size to a 2 inch drain. And that's what we had to do here. And then what we do is what we call sistering the subfloor joists. So we add a 2x to the side of the floor joist, 3/4 of an inch beneath the joist. And the purpose of that is so that we can set new subfloor level with the tops of the joists between all the joists. Ends up looking like this. Reason for that is because now the whole shower floor area is 3/4 of an inch beneath the rest of the room. And when we set our weedy pan and our tile on the floor, it will now be level with the rest of the room. That weedy pan and the pans that we use are 3/4 of an inch thick. So that's how it lines up. So we set the pan and we waterproof all the seams. And then we tile. In this particular room, we had a ceiling mounted custom curtain track for water retention in the shower area. That was a lot of technical stuff. I don't expect anyone to come start working for me off of that, but did you have any questions about waterproofing or bath preparation? No. Okay, so bedrooms and living rooms. I pair these together mostly because the same obstacles in beds, couches, furniture, rugs, things like that are all addressed within these two rooms. So I'm going to clump them together for purposes of the presentation. The basic layout to room is really, each room is really important. I know a lot of times for storage purposes, we like to kind of cram dressers into rooms, and for aesthetic purposes, we have lots of mirrors, things suspended from the walls. We have runners for void floor spaces and different rugs and things like that. And if you're like, my wife, you have to have about 60 throw pillows on the bed or the couch as well at all times. Clutter like this is all stuff we actually try to reduce. And it might look really great, but if we're concerned with accessibility and falls and things like that, there's a number of things we have to look at. And first and foremost is this 5-foot turning circle, 60-inch turning radius here for beds, bedrooms and living rooms. The purpose for this is, again, back to wheelchair accessibility. So with universal design and in preparation for being able to stay home, you should always have a void area within the room with a 60-inch turning radius. And that'll allow, either by yourself in a chair or with a walker and in a wheelchair under assistance, the ability to comfortably turn around. Here's an example of a nice bedroom with reduced clutter. You know, no one ever says you can't use carpets. I really love carpets in bedrooms. I think it's warm and comfortable, but there's no throw rugs or anything within the room. The bed is a nice, easy, manageable height to get in and out of, and it's well lit, which is important. The other thing is not pictured in this photo, but there are companies, one of which is called Healthcraft. They make things like bed rails and grab bars that are aesthetically pleasing and really useful. So they have things you can suspend from ceiling joists. They have things that can attach to the side of a bed. And they have a really innovative product called a super pole, which is a floor to ceiling compression pole, a vertical pole that you can place anywhere in your house. And it's really uninvasive, really handy when there's not somewhere you can mount a grab bar to. So if anyone's interested in those products, again, the company is Healthcraft. I like this photo too, because within this room, we go back to the universal design and perceptible information. If we have a spouse or if we ourselves are have a cognitive impairment, it's really important to be able to see things clearly and right away. So things like open shelving and closets is important. Again, in a nice well-lit room with open closets and clear floor space, it's really safe. And I think this is just a great example. Oh, this is a good point too. So back to lighting. Obviously, lighting is important, but remote or automatic lighting is really easy to set up now. Electricians have all these different tools at their disposal and all these different products at their disposals where we don't necessarily have to find that light switch in the dark or get up out of bed to go find the, a light switch at the entrance of a room. So consult an electrician or a builder on some of the products you can exchange in your house. Makes it a lot easier to light your home. Raised outlets. Okay, this is a big one. Most outlets are pretty close to the ground. I think code usually has them about 18 inches off the ground. But if we have hip or knee issues or back problems, and we're at risk of falling by doing household activities like vacuuming, having ground outlets 2 feet off the ground or higher can be an extreme saver for falls and can be really convenient. Okay, so lift chairs and beds. Again, back to the developing technology for aging in place remodeling. They have really great lift beds, so assisted rising beds and living room chairs, sofas, things like that, that help get in and out of bed or off the couch. It's important to note too, this technology is great because you can sometimes manipulate your favorite sofa by adding one of these lift systems. And it's a big energy saver. And lastly, secure flooring. So secure flooring goes back to slip resistance and its adhesion to the floor. So a carpet's fine as long as it's secured well to the floor. Maybe not shag carpeting like I think they used to do in maybe the 60s or 70s, but modern carpeting like the one we see in this room. And the best advice is to get rid of area rugs. Questions? And I'll open up questions at the end too. The slides aren't that long, so I would love to have a conversation with everyone at the end. It's a lot of information. Okay, kitchens. To me, this is the exciting one. Again, I've worked, with like a lot of little old Italian ladies who love to cook for their grandkids and their kids, and they think their days in the kitchen are over, but there's a lot of stuff we can do to make it more comfortable. So this picture is a really great one. This is a universal design picture. I find it really helpful if you're looking for ideas to Google universal design kitchen, and you can get some great example projects. But some of the things to note are first, reachable appliances. We do things like create a custom platform for dishwashers so that the bottom tray of dishes isn't just off the floor. They make drawer style dishwashers that you can load from the top. So you can load them from a chair, or you can load them and they're just much higher off the ground. Those are really great. I can provide details on those if someone would like. So that's first. Secondly, you can't necessarily see in this photo, but I think I have some, is you want open space for seating, especially in areas where you're doing a lot of food preparation, if it's your cut station or where you're washing your dishes. Leave an area where you can have either a perch seat or a bar top stool so you can be sitting while preparing food and washing. Varying counter heights. This is great because if there's a couple people in the home, one who is really tall and one who's shorter, or one who has no physical impairments and can walk, and another who's in a chair, tall countertops are great for those of us with no physical impairments. But low countertops, which is about 33.5 to 34 inches versus 36 inches or taller, are really important for wheelchair access and seated access. And then safety appliances. A lot of the new range hoods, exhaust hoods, you can add a fire suppressor to them. So if someone forgets to shut off a gas stove, they have fire suppressors that you can add to your range hood, or you can buy the range hood with the suppressors built in themselves. But they also make induction cooktops. If you cook with no gas and just have an electric cooktop, that if there's not a pan on it, even if you turn it on, it won't burn your skin as you make contact with it. So they make induction cooktops that we really try to emphasize. A little bit more expensive, maybe a few $100s more expensive than a traditional electric cooktop, but it can save you from burns. Questions about the kitchen? Yes.
As you were talking about chairs and moving chairs over to the counter to do that work, is there such a chair that you sit in, you can press a button and it will go up, and then press a button and it will go down?
That's a great question. So if anyone online could not hear, Mariah asked if there was a kitchen chair that can raise and lower electrically. I'm not aware of one. What I am aware of is something called a perch chair. The seat of the chair is at a slight angle so that you're technically leaning forward a bit. It's really helpful if you're washing dishes or chopping at a regular height counter. If you manipulate your kitchen to have counter height that's much lower than a standard, you can use a regular chair like this. And that's something we always try to incorporate into the new projects we do. And it doesn't have to be a complete kitchen remodel. Sometimes people like to add, like a butcher block or a different stone, or even a matching stone if it's been done relatively recently, to a different area of the kitchen, close to the sink and refrigerator and our food preparation areas, so that you can be seated completely while preparing dinner or preparing meals. Yeah, I'll look into that though.
Okay.
That's a really great idea. Maybe yeah, new invention, right? Okay, so moving on to stairways. You can see in this photo, this is a stair lift. This stairwell is actually set up quite well. You can see that they've added handrails. Something I want to mention about stair lifts, unless you have, they can be quite expensive. And the reason is, unless you have a straight stairwell, every single stair lift that's created is custom. It's rare that any two stairways are the same. Even if you went into a development, those stairways are going to be different from stairways anywhere else in the country. So these companies, they need to come make a custom measurement and create a custom track system for your stairs. And that's really why sometimes they can be shockingly expensive, but that's the explanation for it. It's not easy to do the installation. There are very few companies that do it, and each one is custom. So I think all those things together make it kind of an expensive project, but it can give you access to the second floor or any floor of your home for a really extended period of time. So they can be a great option. Each stairway, whether you're using a stair lift or not, if you have the space for it, we really recommend putting in handrails. It's amazing how many homes don't have handrails at all incorporated into a stairwell. But handrails should be added, if you can, on both sides of the stairs. Couple reasons for that. Different users of the home, so maybe a husband and wife, they may have physical impairments on different sides of their body. Also, if you think about a stairwell, right? Hopefully you're able to go up and down the stairs easily. If I had suffered something like a stroke or I had an injury and the left side of my body was impaired and I didn't use it for grabbing, I would use the right side. Well, the right side, if I added handrails just to the right side, I could only comfortably go up and down the stairs, or up the stairs rather. And coming down, I would need it on the opposite side. So if you can, try to add these things everywhere that you can. And slip resistant surfaces. So a lot of us who have hardwood floors in our house, we have really slick stairs, and they have products, whether invisible or visible, that you can add to stairwells that increase the grip. Okay. And the other thing is, again, just like in a living room or bedroom, we want to eliminate like runners or stair treads that are carpet, because they're trip hazards. Another important thing that's usually forgotten about, not all of us have this beautiful stairwell like this couple. Natural lighting and regular, recessed lights and sconce lights are important to add to a stairwell too, because a lot of times, especially like in Newton and these old Victorians, you have these really beautiful custom stairs with no lighting at all. So even if you have a light on the first floor or on the second floor hallway and in a bedroom, that area continues to be really dark. So it's important to have lighting added. We talked a bit about the stair lifts. So the stair lifts, expected cost. If you had a straight, short stairwell, I believe there are companies that can do it for starting around $3,500. And the vast majority of custom longer stairwells are right around that 13,500. I have heard of projects going north of that, but I think the vast majority of projects fall into that range for stair lifts. Okay, so just kind of, yes, Bill.
What's the slip resistant material you mentioned for stair treads?
Yeah, so they make adhesives that you can use, like you've probably seen them on more like in a commercial setting, but it's like a black slid resistant surface. It's like for a stair tread, it almost looks like a stair runner. That's great. They're aesthetically not that great though. So there are some products, especially on stone stairs, that you can add, which is an invisible grip. I could provide you some information on it, Bill, but you basically paint it on, allow it to dry, and it's invisible and can provide some traction. The other thing, especially for outside stairwells, like if you have an entrance into the home, which are wood steps, they make something called shark tooth. What you do is you mix it into the paint or stain, and it provides some traction in your steps or your ramp.
Actually, there's Douglas who's on Zoom, has a question about stairs. So Douglas, I know you're unmuted. You can go ahead and ask.
Hi, thanks very much for this comprehensive overview. We have stairs with multiple angles that it changes, twice, going from one level to another. Are there stair lifts that can be created to accommodate multiple angles?
Thank you for your question, Douglas. So I don't know if everyone in the room could hear, but it sounds like he has a multi-level stairwell with a landing and different angles. So to answer your question, Douglas, as long as you have 27 inches or more of width throughout the stairwell, they can create a custom stair lift for you.
Uh-huh. Okay. Very practical answer. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So again, in recap, in all areas, we want lighting, but more specifically, we want white lighting. So if you go into a hardware store or a lighting store, there's actually all different kinds of light bulbs that you can get. A lot of the time, we have soft lighting, which is almost like a yellowy tint. As we age, actually, they tell me that our vision can become yellowed or foggier, and lights like soft white and warm white lights actually are detrimental to your vision and the room. What we're looking for is a white lighting. So what they call those at these stores and for these bulbs is called bright white, cool white, and daylight. And these are much brighter. And if you have bulbs or if you have LED lighting, I recommend bright white or daylight lights. Secure flooring, I want to hammer home this point because a lot of times a throw rug can make a room, but it can also make a room really dangerous. So we want to secure all flooring, whether that be in the center of a room, on a stairwell, or at thresholds between rooms. Everything should be very secure. Okay, and something to grab. It's really easy to point out something to grab in bathrooms because they make all these things like, what you see here is a soap dispenser or a shampoo rack. That's actually a grab bar as well. And then we have the grab bars themselves. But in all areas of the house, again, whether you use a product like the Super Pole I mentioned earlier, or something from a company like Healthcraft, you want something to grab that's not a towel rack or that's not a coffee table, something more secure to grab in every area of the house. There we go. That's the example of the Super Pole that I set up next to someone's favorite couch here. You can see it's just, they have a plate on the ground. It's a compression system, so you don't need to penetrate surfaces. It can be moved really easily within the house, and it's really sturdy and helpful. We've done these in bathrooms, bedrooms, living rooms. They're great. Another thing, lever handles, especially for those of us who have gripping issues. Lever handles are super easy because you can use your hand, you could even use your elbow. You can put this on faucets, door handles, and you can change the entry door to your home to a lever handle. It's a small, easy change that is actually really impactful. Another one is pocket doors. So if you think about the process of opening a door, one, you have to move everything out of the way. This picture is great because they have this nice table here. So instead of that being lost by the swing of a door, you gain a lot of space, but it's also great because if say you were confined to a wheelchair in your home, you can open the door completely without having to back out of the way. It's important if you're using a walker or a chair, and if you want to save space as well. So we try to incorporate pocket doors where we can. This is a little technical again, kind of like my bath preparation. But if you see here, this is a project we did where we created just someone wanted to move from the second floor to the first floor. So we did an addition and we completed this master suite that's, self-containing. It's got everything you need from laundry to a bathroom. We incorporated as many pocket doors as we could. So into the master bathroom and into this closet and laundry room, we have pocket doors, huge space saver, and makes the room much more accessible, especially if you don't have very wide doorways to begin with. Pocket doors can increase the amount of width you have for wheelchair access. And lastly, reduced clutter. It seems pretty simple, but a lot of people have trinkets and fixtures and things like that they want within their room, on table surfaces, on floors. Those things, especially as we lose our balance, and when we may need assistance, become obstacles. So for example, if you're losing your balance and you have to grab something like the coffee table, if there's lamps and there are, your favorite beer stein and things like that all over it, then you're just more likely to incur an injury or something like that. So clutter is important. And then also for floor space, especially early in the day and late in the day, we need clear floor space just to reduce falling and trips. I think that's it.
Stop sharing.
Yeah.
And then we can get people on the screen. All right, let's see. Screen, and I need to unpin myself. Hang on one second. Nope. I know there's a way to unpin me. Oh, there it is. Remove pin. Sorry. Okay, and we want gallery. Okay,
Oh,
so
beautiful.
there, yeah. So now you can see a few people who are there.
Yep. And can I hear everyone now?
Most are muted right now.
I think everyone's muted. If you have questions, you can unmute yourselves. Anybody?
Okay, yes.
Do you come into a home and look it over yourself and suggestions for people?
Yeah, so there's a lot of professionals, like occupational therapists, who will come in and make recommendations based on someone's specific conditions. A lot of the times that's mandated for release from a rehab or a hospital, something like that. My approach is a little different. My business is predicated off trying to obtain remodeling jobs. So as part of what I do, if someone's thinking about making adjustments and modifications to their house, I will come in and give my 2 cents. But some of these professionals are really excellent and can make detailed, descriptive, injury condition specific recommendations. So I appreciate the collaboration with them. But short answer is yes, I do. Yes, Janet. Oh, sorry, Janet, I think you're muted. There we go.
Okay. I noticed that when you were discussing various bathroom remodels, nothing was mentioned about the walk-in tubs that are heavily advertised. And I wondered if you could comment about those, the benefits and the possible risks, and as well as costs.
Sure. Great question. Yes, Janet, we have installed these. If no one knows what Janet's talking about, they make these what they call walk-in tubs. So it's a therapeutic tub that is about chest level, that has a door with a very low threshold entry. And after you close the door, it can fill up like a regular tub. I think all the models, they have jets, and it's great and therapeutic. The cost, those projects, you can actually separate those from the rest of the room, but those projects usually start at about 20 to 25,000 because the product itself is actually pretty expensive. There are a lot of benefits to it though, obviously, especially if you have joint conditions and things like that, where like a nice warm tub is recommended. Again, it's one of those things where the product is a good portion of the cost, but if it's really beneficial to you, then it's not overly difficult to install. And even if a plumber and a builder aren't used to the installation, it's pretty straightforward. Does that answer your question, Janet?
Well, I think so. Have you had direct experience with installing those?
I have. It's more rare than something like a wet room or a walk-in shower, but we've done a couple of them. And as long as it's easy to get your standard tub drain to a room, which most rooms are usually equipped with, and if you can get additional electrical, if you have enough space on your electrical panel for the load that the jets and the heating mechanisms in the tub require, then it's pretty straightforward. It's almost like installing any other tub.
I have one more question about bathrooms, and that's about the wet bathrooms.
Yeah.
I found myself wondering, why would anyone want that, to have water splashing all over your floor? That becomes a safety issue in itself. as well as a housekeeping issue.
Yep. Yep. So there's a few reasons. Most of the time we see them when people have really limited space. So a lot of the times, if you're moving from the second floor where you have your master bath to a first floor with just a powder room or no bathroom at all, we can cannibalize that space to create a wet room. And we don't need a designated space for a shower drain like we do in those standard bathrooms. So sometimes it's a space issue. Other times it's a caregiving issue. If someone has a condition that requires caregiver assistance in the bathroom, a standard 36 by 60 inch shower floor may not be enough space. And the only way to achieve the proper shower floor space would be to create a wet room within the room.
Oh, it sounds like a choice of last resort, really, in terms of.
Sometimes, actually, we've had, since we do quite a bit of them, we've actually had a number of young homeowners with no physical impairments request them. The European style wet baths, as they call them, are becoming really popular. People want tile from floor to ceiling and sometimes even on the ceiling. So we get a lot of requests for it.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Very similar to a lot of bathrooms in Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Europe and Israel. And then you need this, but then you need the squeegee for the young people.
Yeah.
The squeegee, the water back into the.
I wouldn't want to clean it, but yeah, if you limit the number of grout joints that you have, it might actually be easier to clean than a standard room.
Anybody else? Oh,
Could you speak a little bit about securing carpets?
Securing carpets, yes. So rugs and carpets and things like that, we really want like a tight fit and installation. So first of all, what we want to do is, if you're having new carpet installed, you want a thin underlayment because you don't want the carpet to be too bouncy. Okay. And secondly, if you must have a throw rug within a room, you should reduce the amount of throw rugs with like detached pieces, like feathered pieces on the edge of the rug,
like fringe.
like fringe.
You
Yep.
don't want fringe.
And you should have sticky tack strips beneath the surface around the entire perimeter of the rug so that it doesn't become folded or you don't kick up the corner of the rug. To all surfaces, whether that's on top of an existing carpet or if that's on hardwood or something like that. We have other questions from the Zoom gallery?
Doesn't look like it. So, all right. I'll step back onto the, well, it doesn't
Yes.
really matter where you can see me wherever I'm on either screen. So I just thank you so much for coming to do this.
Yes, thanks for having me,
In
everyone.
person, it was really very helpful. If people have questions, you can shoot me an email and I'll pass Brian's information on to you. I know that he would be happy to help you out, although I know he's also very busy. So get in line quickly. And thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.